Well, hello there, everyone. My name is Krona. I've been for my fun fact for the day. I want to finally reveal where my name is from, and that is from the obscure Nintendo game Fossil Fighters. I'm joined today with the lovely DRF and with Snow, two fellow CCA staff members. Can both of you say hello to our lovely Twitch chat?
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, you're just gonna drop that and just not elaborate? Like, is this like a character in the game, or like, what, I need an explanation now.
I was very much a dinosaur kid when I was younger, DRF, and it's an allusion to some plesiosaur or something. But you know, I don't know. It just stuck with me, and I decided to name my online personality with it, which is where it is now. So not named after the beer, not named after the virus, not named after the Danish currency, but after a little-known dinosaur. But I digress.
You know what? I respect that. But yes, hello everybody. DRF here. I really did have a fun fact this time. You know what? We'll go ahead and just ride Krona's intro here. Yeah, that's my initials. Woo! Very creative. So, but call me DRF, Dr. F, DRF. I really don't care. I've heard it all at this point, just like how people pronounce my IRL name. So you know what? I vibe with it.
Thank you, Dr. F. Hi, everyone. My name is Snow. Unfortunately, I can't do a name origin for me. It's kind of obvious. So my fun fact is I pretty much pulled an all-nighter last night for an 8 a.m. exam I had today, which I still might have failed. So my warning to you, DRF and Krona. Oh, if you're not entertaining enough, I might just fall asleep mid podcast. So that's your warning. You got one chance.
Fair enough. I mean, it's also on your part to be entertaining for us as well. But hello, welcome everyone once again to our lovely chaotic show. We have quite the episode prepared for everyone. This is probably the most work we put onto the back end for a single podcast episode, and that's honestly saying quite a lot because some of these past episodes have been a lot of work too. But there's so much to cover, and we really want to do something special to kind of send season 4 off with high hopes for everyone and to have a fascinating discussion with it all. So a quick overview of this episode. We're first going to kick things off with our typical CCA announcements. There's a few end of season things we want to cover, discuss, and make sure you all are aware of. We're then going to recap the grand final and third place matches for every single division. Obviously there's a lot of discussion and a lot of fantastic matches were played 2 weeks back. So we want to make sure that everyone knows the storylines and the pivotal moments from those matches. We're especially going to dive into the Division 1 playoff stream and the fascinating production that was put on for that whole saga. And then we're also going to have kind of wrap up this first section of our show with an interview with the Division 2 winners, that being Coastal Squid Surf, specifically with their captains Chai and Peachy. So we're very excited to talk with them. We have a bunch of fascinating questions written for them. So that's kind of our typical podcast structure. And after that, we're going to get a little bit more experimental with kind of talking about season 4 as a whole. We have a quick intermission video where we're going to have some of the division winners kind of talk about their victories and kind of speak to words to their programs and their teams throughout the season. We're then going to go division by division to cover some of the greater storylines that have appeared from these divisions and what it kind of means for the future of the teams and programs in each. We're then going to get, a lot more discussion on kind of our own top and favorite moments from the season. Each of us having prepared a few top 3 lists of X items for the season. And then we're also going to kind of talk about some more specific awards and such with the co-host Paper Plate Awards. And finally, as we've been alluded to and have hyped up over our announcements and such, we are going to be live revealing the all-division teams for Season 4. I think Frosty has been working his little super chum head off this last week to get them all ready for a live reveal today. We're so excited to have the opportunity to do so. So there is a lot to cover in this episode. So let's just increase the counter and get right into it. So DRF, would you like to start us off with some CCA announcements?
Absolutely. We're going to be quick with this one because, like we said, there is so much to do today. So first of all, merch. As a reminder, if you didn't know already, CCA launched our merch shop just the other week. So show off your love for the CCA with a couple of stickers and the infamous I Survived the CCA Season 4 The Balls Incident t-shirt. Limited time only available through the end of the year. So we will go ahead and drop the link in chat here for anyone that may be interested in purchasing some stickers or a lovely shirt. And if you didn't know, if you are watching the podcast right now, you could go ahead and use PodCCAst 10, PodCCAst 10, for a 10% discount on your purchase. That will be enabled now for the next couple of hours, I believe. So be sure to grab your merch at a slightly discounted price.
We started the season with the DeBall incident, and here we are mentioning.
Yep, we are ending with the DeBalls incident. Great, love that.
Has anyone in the chat already gotten their DeBall shirt? I'm kind of curious to see how much support we've had.
Oh, I know there's been at least a dozen shirt orders. So and as a reminder, anything that we make off of this goes right back into the CCA to pay for all of the software that we use, particularly with stats, and to be able to pull off, production stuff and just to continue to elevate the CCA. So you're directly supporting the CCA with your purchase. So with that said, be sure to use that discount code. Moving on, though, the next announcement that we have is the CCA University Directory. As we have mentioned in every podcast episode for the past 3 or 4 episodes, if you're a club leader and have still not filled out the CCA Directory, we implore you to do so at some point. Krona will probably cry if he has to go and hunt you down for it. The directory will serve as a way for people to basically find contact points at different collegiate Splatoon clubs within different universities across North America. So please be sure to provide that information. You might be able to find your next star player through that. So be sure to help us out. We will go ahead, and if you have access to, I believe, at the Club Leaders channel specifically, you could go ahead and follow this link to find more information about filling out the CCA University Directory.
Yes, I know we've been a little bit persistent about it. Well, me specifically, as it's kind of my sheet. But it's very important to have such a resource such that, any member of our community can get in contact with their collegiate program and to kind of tighten our community as a whole. So please go do so if you haven't already. Please don't make me hunt you down in tickets. But moving on, let's talk about the map of the CCA post Season 4. I've gone on record many times to say that one of my favorite concepts to talk about here in the CCA is the relationships that form between teams and university programs. It's always very interesting to me to see how these teams and programs interact beyond just formal matches and such, to see who practices with each other, who looks up to each other, etc. Henceforth, we created this map of the CCA project to kind of try to visualize and give some representation to these relationships that form. We previously did an iteration of this during the SOX 2023. However, given the fact that so much has changed already with Season 4, we wanted to do another iteration to add and change some relationships that have appeared over time. So you can find the map of the CCA post-season form submission form in the captain's chat channel in the CCA Discord, and you will need the university captain role to do so. I believe we already have 34 teams submitted with 110 different relationships already accounted for. So I'm very excited to see what all those lead to and all the interesting things that come about with that.
That is going to be very interesting. And as a math major myself, I feel like the directed graph is going to be really interesting to look at. Anyway, so now I want to talk about my own little side project, which is the fantasy bracket. Hopefully some of you guys watching played that. So I'm just gonna shout out the winners. So for overall winner was Elixil. Congrats, Elixil. This came off a huge 120 point jump during the playoffs because you guessed the winners of Div 1 through 4, as well as the third place of Div 6, which is really impressive. No one else got even close to that. So great job, Lixel. I clap, but I don't have my second hand. Yeah. Wait, I'm push to talk. It's push to talk. Don't worry. Push to talk. Wait. So I also want to shout out my personal, biggest winners and losers from the fantasy bracket. Start off with a winner. My own teammate, PSU Vapor, also DRS teammate technically, who started off week 1 coming at 35th place and ended up coming all the way to 4th, which is a really good turnaround. And on the other note, the biggest loser. Congrats, DRF. Starting off at 2nd place in week 1 and just slowly moving down to 24th.
Thank you. No need for applause. I really tried with that one by picking the westernmost team in every division.
Man, I always enjoy looking at the fantasy scores because I always regret my choices by like week 3. But that's the name of the game, right? But moving on, a little bit more about the podcast VODs. We're happy to announce that all the previous podcast episodes have been finally uploaded to our YouTube, and this also includes the infamous episode 0, which we covered a lot of the events for the summer, and is very scuffed as that was our first time ever trying this podcast format. So while season 4 is over, you still can go back and listen to all the storylines and kind of follow how everything has unrolled throughout the entire last 10 weeks. Plus, you can see how wrong some of us were in some of our predictions and speculations. So that's always entertaining. Additionally, we're looking for feedback on these episodes that we've done on the podcast this season. The podcast is still a very new CCA project, and we want to poll our community to see what has worked with it and what needs some adaptation and change. So any words or comments you can provide are very much appreciated here. So please go fill out that form, including a very funny Kronaism question at the end. So thank you.
And I guess just to wrap up the CCA announcements, so the CCA will be taking a break over the holiday season here, so please leave us alone. That's all I'm gonna say. We literally will not have anything to announce until the new year regarding events or anything like that. A lot of us are tired and need some time to go do other things, and there's a lot of other side projects that a lot of individuals within the staff are working on. So we will have a lot of new and fun, exciting things for you all come 2024.
Yes, indeed. I think after such an eventful fall semester, a couple week break is warranted, which is very much appreciated from a student staffer as well. But we're looking forward to the future of the CCA, and we'll be back come the new year as well. So that does it for the CCA announcements. Quick, painless as always, lot to cover, but that's how it is. So let's dive into recapping some of the grand final and third place matches. So I'm now going to share my screen, and let's go division by division, starting with Division 6. Get that up. There we go.
All right. Let me also make sure I have this up on my end. So, sweet. So a lot kind of to go through here with all of these division finals. So many exciting matches that have taken place the past week or so. But let's go ahead and talk about Division 6 here, where we first saw UGA Red coming up with a big 5-1 victory over the Grizzco Gators in what was a Southeast showdown between these two, the University of Georgia versus the University of Florida. Classic rivalry here. UGA Red, though, I mean, I guess they got a little bit of that, PodCAst blessing to show up here and really make some noise in this match. So they had a very dominant season, really only dropping, I think, what was the total? Like they dropped like 4 games or something like that.
UG Red? Yes.
I believe so.
It was 3 because they only lost regular season they only lost a single game to Table Troop Trepe. The name always comes at me at some reason. And Sun Gun Squad. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. So still 4 games because U of A Axon Splatters took a game and the Grisco games. So.
Oh, I can't read. Yes. Sorry, my
All
apologies.
good. All good. So a very dominant performance from the Bulldogs as they are your Division 6 champions and have certainly earned their right to, move on up in the CCA world. We'll see them at a much higher division next season. But the Grisco Gators, phenomenal season as well. Very dominant all the way to the end. But, it was one of those things where they had all this momentum, but they just reached that immovable object that was UGA Red. And then that third place matchup as well. Buy one, get one free, gets the podium finish here with a 5-0 victory over one of my favorite teams from this season, Splatoon Gold, who had such a breakout season. I am incredibly proud of that squad as well. So ultimately, gonna drop those last 10 games between the semifinals and third place. But fourth place, I mean, hey, that's still really, really good. You beat some really great teams to finish there. So this was just an overall really fun division, a lot of surprises, a lot of uncertainty. And Krona, I know that you and I had a couple of questions from this bracket as well. And for the most part, we were pretty spot on with this division. You and I both said UGA Red in 8. It ended up being in 6. And we both said buy one, get one free. I said it was going to be in 6. You said it'd be in 7. But hey, they went up to us and said, we'll go ahead and complete the sweep.
Yes, I do think that is a common trend you'll see in these next few segments that we overpredicted some games. But yes, no, it's very good to see UGA coming out on top. I know we led to potentially a commentator's curse there with having them on the podcast and interviewing them before this match. But it's really good to hear them, come out on top against the Grisco Gators. One thing I did want to add to your comment there is those top 3 teams are from these very established programs, that being UGA, University of Florida, University of Houston, who have other teams here in the CCA. So, while that does speak a little bit to, the better practices and the better coaching and resources they have available, that does, like Division 6 has had such a wonderful run of these newer teams too, that don't come from these established programs and who have been trying to just, make a name for themselves here too. Kind of my shout outs were CS, UDH, Ivory, fantastic run in Group 4. Very much deserve their playoff spot. Splatoon Gold, as you previously mentioned as well. U of A Axon Splatters, having a really great first season here and, really proving themselves on the collegiate ground. So, while UGA, Grisco Gators, and buy one, get one free kind of stand on the podium at the end of the day, it's been a fantastic season for all the Division 6 teams. And it's gonna be great to see where they go to next season. Yes. Any further comments, or should we move on to Division 5?
We'll have a lot more to say later. Let's go ahead and keep moving along.
Yes, Division 5. Before we even start, DRF, I feel like we need to give UNM Splatoon the biggest apology with our predictions from last episode. For those of you unaware, both D and I had predicted that because the first semifinal match hadn't been played by the time we hosted the episode. But still, that match in the grand finals one to predict. And both of us had high rollers winning both those matches, only dropping a single game. So we're very sorry for saying that UNM Splatoon, you very much proved us wrong. Not winning both those games, not a 10-1, a 10-2, but that's just devil's in the details there. Well done for those phenomenal performances. Division 5 has honestly been probably my favorite division to follow this season. I think it's kind of got a little bit unrepresented in some of the discussions for just how many interesting things have appeared here. And that really being a lot of the newer teams that have appeared. A fact I was saving for later in the episode, but I'll spill here. 75% of these playoff teams, this is their debut CCA season. High Rollers, High Riders, UNN, Bull Sharks, these are new players on the collegiate scene, and they've done such a wonderful job to get here. UNN Splatoon, like I said, we need to give them props for the powerful run they've had here in bracket. They came out Group 3, I believe, only dropping 3 games in that Group 2. They very much kind of ate through this bracket and showed that they are the top dog here in Division 5. But Champlain too has had such a great season, struggling a little bit in the regular season, but coming back at full force here for the playoff bracket. And then High Riders, while me and DRF were, definitely overestimated a little bit, they still had a very great performance here. Struggling a little bit against UNM Splatoon, but able to completely sweep through Bull Sharks for that third place match. So, finishing third place is nothing to scoff at. So well done to all those teams.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And with this bracket, this, in my opinion, was the most unique and interesting bracket in that, similar to Division 2, we saw two groups just get outright eliminated in the quarterfinals. With High Riders and I believe Champlain coming out of the same group, and UNM and Bull Sharks coming out of the same group. But what made this even more unique to that Division 2 bracket is that the second place finishers in those respective groups are the two teams that made the finals. So UNM Splatoon had lost to the Bull Sharks in a Game 7 and then proceeded to make the final, where Champlain did their dirty work for them to knock out the Bull Sharks, and vice versa. I mean, UNM knocked out the High Riders, who were the one team that beat Champlain. So it was really fascinating to see that both of these teams were able to have these bounce back games and take out the number one threat that was for their competition to face each other in this final. We have never had anything quite like that, where it was the two second place teams from their groups that faced off in the finals. So huge credit to both those teams for meeting those exact win conditions that they needed to get in that spot. And of course, a double congratulations to UNM for pulling it off.
Yeah, no, I mean, even like you said, I didn't even realize they both had to both of them defeated two number one seeds to get to that even grand finals match. Well done to those teams for, maybe stumbling a bit in the regular season, but then pulling it back for that bracket. Let's move on to Division 4, which I'm introducing again. Division 4, we had the Splatlanders versus Seminole Cephalopods Granite in the Grand Finals match. We saw a wonderful set from them with the Granite coming on top 5-1. Granite's had a fantastic run here in bracket, having a very dominant regular season run. They dropped a few games. I can't remember exactly, but I knew they were first in the group, beating Bash and Purdue and UCSD to get here, defeating some collegiate powerhouses here. But even the Splatlanders fell to them. They've had a wonderful run here too, beating Stu and VCU Goomies. Both of these kind of notorious teams from these programs in some of the lower divisions. This is a great result for both of them. Obviously, Granite wins the division at the end of the day, but Splatlanders have really come into their own this season. We had a chance to interview them here early on the podcast, and it was a wonderful interview that provided a lot of context and insight to them. And they definitely should not, beat themselves up about a second place finish here. We're really excited to see where they go in the future. Going to the third place match, we had the rematch between UCSD Esports Navy and VCU Goomies. As we talked about previously, this was a regular season rematch with both these teams having faced each other in Group 3 in the regular season. There we saw UCSD Esports Navy win 4-1 over the Goomies, and that result was more or less repeated here with UCSD Esports Navy winning 5-1 over the Goomies. So this is great for UCSD, who kind of stumbled there in that semifinals match 2, falling just short of beating Seminole Cephalopods in a thrilling brush v brush match. While Goomies here did unfortunately lose these last 2 games in a row, it does speak great to their program that they're still able to get this far in the bracket, and shows a lot of promise for where they can go in the future. So any comments on that, DRF Snow?
I just want to, of course, congrats to Seminole Cephalopods for winning their what's called their division title. But I mean, really want to shout out these third place teams, UCSD Esports Navy and Goomies, VCU Goomies. These are both I think you mentioned they're like secondary teams of Div 1 playoff teams.
Yes.
So I mean, what I'm thinking is like, if they're getting like guidance from these top level CCA teams, right now they're fighting for the third place match, but I think they have so much upside that next time they could be going for the gold.
Yes. One thing I do want to comment, I can't remember exactly when I had the discussion, but I remember one night in general we were talking about just kind of histories and rivals and such. We're talking about UCSD, and I made the astute observation that UCSD has really started to have this very interesting relationship with VCU and their own new rivalry that's forms, both with the Division One teams, with Ink Black versus Esports Gold, the whole shabacle that happens in Division One. We'll cover that later. Trust us. But also here too, it's just kind of interesting to see how intertwined these schools are in the CCA at this point. And I know DRF mentioned this last episode, but they're also like starting to practice and scrim together too. So you have this beautiful dance of these different collegiate teams and players at this point. So very, very interesting relationship here.
Certainly, I'll just attest to that. It's been a really fun relationship to see sort of develop, particularly with Navy and Goomies. So those two teams have massive respect for one another, and it's something to certainly be on the lookout for in future seasons.
Yes. So let's probably move on to Division 3.
Oh boy. All right. So Division 3. Yes. This was honestly probably the most fun playoffs overall, in my opinion. Just because every single match at least had some sort of back and forth initially before one team or another kind of ran away with it. Even for Grizz Co-workers Union, who had a pretty dominant season overall, definitely had to kind of go back and forth with Lone Rock Sirens, Death Roll, and GMU Patriots in the early parts of those sets. So it certainly was not easy. And of course, we get one of the best matches in the playoffs between GMU Patriots and the Titans of Alterna, going all the way to Game 9 there. But that all to set the stage for GMU Patriots versus WPI Grizz Co-workers Union, the favorite versus the underdog. A Grizz Co-workers Union, I mean, Krona, your squad did phenomenal in this set. GMU Patriots were able to slowly start figuring stuff out, but I think by the time they did, it was just too little too late, as you all were able to really run away with that one. So a huge congratulations to you and the rest of the WPI folks for reclaiming the Division 3 title, previously winning it in Season 2. So that is absolutely massive. And I think this one does follow through with my prediction. I did give an exact score, but in the last episode, I had basically said that the longer this set goes, the more worried I am for WPI. And sure enough, they put this one away in 7. So definitely let a couple games slip there, but kept it under control. So very well done.
That middle bit was a bit rough. But yeah, obviously I'm a very biased source having, my team win here, but I still want to give the biggest shout out to GMU Patriots, because I think this playoff bracket really has been their defining moments. They've had these really rough matches and have gone back and forth against Stevens, against Titans, against WPI. And, while they haven't come on top for all these, they've shown such great dedication and momentum and drive for these games. I think they are very much a team to have your eye look out here. They are very deadly. They're they can thrive really well in these situations and adapt. I think, if they put some time and work over here in the off season, they're going to come back swinging like bats out of hell come Season 5. So honestly, I really look forward to seeing what they do from here. But to touch upon the third place match here, we also had Death Roll from the University of Florida versus Titans of Alterna, Orange from Cal Fullerton. And kind of mirroring what you said about Season 2, the same thing happens here with Titans of Alterna also getting 4th place, where they actually lost to UH Premier, which was the previous name for H-Town back in Season 2, to get 4th place as well. So it's very interesting. You have this weird reflection relationship between these two seasons in this same division. But speak a little bit more on that match. Death Roll win 5-1. Regardless, still amazing results from both these teams. I think both of them have shown their absolute dominance here in this division, in their groups and their runs this season, with some fantastic games and sets. So let's move on to Division 2.
Division 2. Now here's where I have to disagree with DRF. I think this one was the best playoff bracket. I mean, Oh my god, Div 2 is my favorite. I like it's just so beautifully like competitive. It's art really. Um, I mean, let's just talk about some of the matches though. I mean, our finalists, Carning Side of Fries and Coastal Squid Surf, both of them just like swept through the bracket, showing that these are the top two teams of this division. 5-1s, 5-0s on both sides. In the finals, Coastal Squid Surf in a fantastic match. 5-3 to Carning Side of Fries, and it was very competitive. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. And then, but don't count out the third place match. IBC Diamond Rays, they might have lost in the semifinals to the eventual winners, but they showed that you can't count them out with a decisive 5-0 win over LG Nightfall. Yeah, that was a statement win. They're showing that they're still contenders. Despite what happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I think IVC had a bit of a rough start to the season, being put in that infamous Division Two Group Two, which is just somehow historically the most chaotic group that ever exists in the season. But they kind of they stepped it up here for the playoff bracket, winning winning their match against Long Beach Gold, and stopping Long Beach's Gold's dominant season that had been progressing so far. Faltering against the champion is nothing to scoff at in semifinals, and then sweeping the third place match. Like, IVC Diamond Rays are in a great position. Bouncing back from a Division 4 victory to third place in Division 2 is fantastic and speaks volumes about their program. IVC is always a great collegiate program to touch upon, and they delivered here as well.
Absolutely. And just to kind of build on that as well, Irvine Valley College has finished top 4 in the 3 seasons that they have played. So in season 2, I believe it was Division 3, they finished in 4th place. Then season 3, Division 4, they win the whole thing, and then now they come into Division 3rd place. So they're finishing in all different spots across the top 4 here in 3 consecutive seasons in 3 different divisions as well. So certainly a very, very unique path for Irvine Valley College to get here. Nightfall as well, just a quick shout out there, because I mean, that was 2 division winners from last season that ended up facing off here in the 3rd place match. So where Nightfall out of UT Austin had won Division 3 last season. So definitely, really speaks to how competitive these teams remained even after winning their division title and moving on up. They took on the challenge in full stride. An excellent job. And I mean, with Carnegie Exotic and Coastal Squid Surf as well, both San Diego State and Coastal Carolina were runner-ups in their respective divisions last season. Carnegie Exotic in Div 2, Coastal Squid Surf in Div 5, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was an amazing story to kind of see unfold here. Like you said, they were both very, very dominant, and it's just Coastal Carolina coming out on top there. I will agree with you, Snow, that in my opinion, this was the most exciting finals match. But overall bracket, I still give to Division 3.
I personally agree with Snow more than you there, DRF. Because I think there's so many unique little tiny storylines here in Division 2's bracket that just speaks volumes about it. And I think it's a little bit more interesting to dissect. But I can see your kind of counterpoint. But let's move on to the top league here in the CCA, the lovely and infamous Division 1.
Awesome. So, yeah, I guess I'll get us kicked off with this because there was a lot that went on with Division 1. So kind of tracing back to the previous season where Kraken from PSU Blue actually reached out. What if we got all 4 of the top teams and just played our matches back to back to back? And that was by far one of the most fun productions that we had done. And we certainly were interested in doing it again this season. So, of course, Kraken being again in the top 4 reaches out, like, hey, we got to do it again. I'm like, yeah, we already know. So, and we basically said, what if we do it again, but bigger? And that was the challenge that we took on. We basically reached out to my uncle, who had in previous conversations mentioned, hey, why don't you come do some stuff at my studio? We could totally have some fun with it. And I had basically said, hey, are you still interested in this, over Thanksgiving dinner? And he was like, yeah, for sure. Like, come on through. So I spent that entire week leading up to the Division 1 playoffs in his studio, trying to get things set up, trying to get him tested, test streams, moving stuff around, making sure audio works, cameras work, trying to recruit people to come in, fulfill this crazy idea. So there was just a lot of work that went into that. My uncle was so gracious enough to basically say, hey, let's make this happen. We'll do whatever it takes, no matter how long it takes. So he sacrificed a lot of time to really make that happen. So a huge shout out to him for making it all possible. So very grateful. But it was kind of just a production team of the four of us. It was me, Frosty, our other main graphics guy, EJ, on the CCA staff, and then, of course, my uncle, who pieced that all together in the studio. And, of course, at least just some initial reflection here. Was the production perfect? No. By no means was it perfect. There was so many little hiccups and just little blemishes on the stream every now and then, graphic bleed throughs, audio mix-ups, trying to get cameras to work.
Couldn't you?
Yeah, no, we could iron out all the wrinkles. No matter how hard we tried. So it's, I will say though, that even though it was not perfect, to have something like this pulled off for this type of event, we have never seen something like this for an online Splatoon tournament, where we have an in-person studio and all of these extra features. It was such a unique atmosphere being there. I mean, the only thing, I'm gonna be real, like if we had a live audience, I think that was the only thing that elevated further. So maybe next time we'll have a watch party in studio as well. But yeah, I think that this is an amazing step in direction where CCA continues to push the boundaries of what is possible in a Splatoon production. And I so eagerly look forward to how we can improve on this next time and just make it more seamless. Because I think a lot of people had fun with it, despite the little things that went wrong here and there. So again, super cool idea. So glad that it panned out, at least to the extent that it did.
I thought the Div 1 like top 4 event last season was already like awesome. I thought the production value was great. And then I don't know. I thought he was even better this time. There are hiccups for sure, but like it was so cool. I really enjoyed going back and rewatching that stream.
Thank you, Snow. I appreciate it, especially given that we got you and the rest of PSU Blue win it. I mean, that was so exciting, and I know we're talking a lot about the production stuff. We'll get to the matches here in just a second. But yeah, and it's especially be able to set up that interview as well. I know that was kind of a pain in the butt, as you sprinted across campus. I don't know, how far are you from Kraken's?
I'm pretty far. It's like a 15-minute walk normally. I ran, so I got there in like 5 minutes. Don't worry. But I do feel bad for make you have to stall that whole time. That was not my intention, but I'm happy it worked out regardless.
You know what? Credit Frosty though with coming up with a great game of Hangman.
Oh my god!
So
that was peak content right there. That's why I was watching.
we love Frosty. Yep.
No matter how wrinkly his shirt is. So
yeah, he's never gonna live that down, is he?
No, he's never gonna live that down. I mean, it wasn't even that bad. I don't think it was that bad, but it was funny to see how many different people reached out afterwards. It was like, please buy this man an iron, and to buy me a tie, apparently. So you know what? It was kind of last minute. We were pushing to literally the last second to get things set up. We originally were going to do pre-stream interviews. We had to cut those because we were running into audio issues less than 5 minutes before we were supposed to go live with the pre-stream. So and I had everybody set up with it too. Like all the teams were ready to go, and I was like, oh, I hate to do this. So it ended up having to get bounced entirely. But it is what it is. So again, we'll be better next time, hopefully. No guarantees that this will be happening again in the future because again, it's just my uncle was so nice to lend us the studio and be able to teach us some of the ropes around a lot of the camera and audio stuff. So, but anyways, let's touch on these matches real quick here. This Division 1, this is probably the best Division 1 that we have ever had. Just, whether you want to just talk about the playoffs specifically or the overall season, I'm kind of looking at the overall season. But it was just one of the best Division 1s that we have ever seen. Definitely, at least for me, I think it's number one. These playoffs had a mix of everything. We saw the absolute dominance of MSU Aries over Banana Split. Like that set was over in the blink of an eye. Banana Split did everything they could to dig their heels into the ground and just, try to hold back MSU Aries. And they were just so strong. It was quite a masterclass in that semifinals. Where on the flip side, we got PSU Blue versus Red Embers, where we thought it was going to be more one-sided, but then suddenly Red Embers shows up and is like, hey, we finally learned. And we are here to, school the people that have been teaching us all their tricks this entire way. So Red Embers came out explosive in that set, and I was thoroughly impressed with them in that set. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with come next season, that's for sure. But PSU Blue continues to prove why they were the best in that matchup. But Snow, y'all really had to fight for that one.
Yeah, we did, and I don't think it's biased for me to say that. I agree. This is the best Div 1, best playoffs, best teams, best winner, of course. But yeah, no, I just want to say, from a player's perspective, or just to give the player's perspective, I was shivering in my timbers to play against MSU after that. They're demolishing of Banana Split, who beat us last season. I was like, oh, my hands were shaking. I was doing push-ups to try and shake off nervous energy. So, yeah, they're definitely intimidating. No denying that.
Yeah. And then of course that finals matchup, MSU versus PSU, the Big Ten showdown that we were all anticipating the anticipation was so good. We were waiting for this clash of titans to come in, and y'all put up a great fight, and it just ended up being a little bit more of a steamroll than we thought. We were waiting to see kind of the back and forth, and MSU, I think, came into that as slightly favored up to that point, especially because of the semifinals performance they put on. They didn't break a sweat against Banana Split. So there was definitely a lot of kind of rumblings man, this MSU squad is good. But you all really perfected that set. You knew exactly how to go up against MSU, and I think surprised the heck out of them. I think that was one thing they mentioned in the chat afterwards in the CCA server was, hey, congrats PSU. We were not ready for everything you just threw at us. So that's all to Penn State's credit. They did the extra homework. They did the extra credit to be able to pull that one off. So that's massive.
Oh, DRF, stop. My ego can only take so much.
Well, let's go ahead and move on then. Red Embers winning third place, 5-1 over the reigning champions. Been split, so it's still top 4 finish for the previous champions. Banana Split has had quite the story throughout all of CCA, coming in as this unknown squad into entrance exam 1 and surprising everybody, only to complete the job in season 3 of the CCA League to win those MSI monitors. And Red Embers, now kind of trying to put on a similar story of, hey, where did these guys come from? They're pretty good, and they kind of faltered so much this season. They finished the regular season with a 2-3 record. We have never had a team with a losing record make the playoffs, and I don't know if we will ever see this again. It is, quite the fascinating story that we'll dive a little more into later. But Red Embers just had such a unique path to this third place finish. And I mean, I'm impressed. I think that they did a phenomenal job. I will be very curious to see what they come back with next season.
Yes, no. I think Red Embers has probably been my favorite kind of like mini storyline throughout this playoff bracket. Just to kind of, like you mentioned, this rough kind of regular season, but kind of taking things into overdrive here. I think probably my favorite match of the night was their semifinal match against PSU Blue. What an electrifying start to the entire stream, and just kind of getting us all on the edge of our seats. They're taking games off PSU. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? I really like. I know you kind of said the sentiment last episode, DRF. I really wish we could have gotten to see that Red Embers and Banana split match, because it would have been such a fantastic kind of like mini storyline to see for those division for those teams for this division. But obviously, MSU Aries and PSU Blue, that slow slow train collision of a match throughout the entire regular season was still fantastic to watch. So a lovely Division 1 playoffs. So that about does it for the recapping of the grand final and third place matches. God, it's been one hell of a season. It's been fantastic. So much to talk about. So many great stories with our division winners and such. And it's been fascinating to watch all unfold. And to kind of speak to some of that and to get a little bit of perspective from one of these division winners, we would like to bring in Chai and Peachy from Coastal Squid Surf to interview them and talk about their Division 2 victory. So let us do that now.
Hello. Okay, is it? Hang on.
Hello.
Hello. Hang on, let me make sure my camera's on here. Is it gonna do the thing? It's gonna do the thing. Okay. There we go. Is it? And it's okay. And now it's black. That's awesome.
This is very nice. Very scuffed.
It's a podcast episode. There's just scuff always in these things.
Yeah.
It's
okay. Hang on. I'm over. This is.
There we go.
Wonderful. All right.
Fantastic. These welcome Chai and Peachy to the stage show, whatever we're on. Welcome here to the podcast. They are from Coastal Squid Surf, the Division 2 champions, both co-captains of it, and we have the lovely pleasure of interviewing you both today. So let's start and let's give a little bit of an introduction to Coastal Squid Surf. So Coastal Carolina University is still a relatively new school here in the CCA, with this only being their second season of competition. They were actually a spring semester join, first competing in Division 5 in Season 3. Coastal Squid Surf, when they were going under the name at Coastal Squid Surf at the time, had a very dominant performance that season, going 4-1 in groups, then making it for quite far into the bracket stage. It had that very infamous 6 a.m. weekday semifinal match against Red Beak Split-Soon, and then lost to Life Could Badly Dream 3-5 in the grand finals match. While they did finish second place in the season, that's really nothing to scoff at, and they didn't seem content with that, as they spent a lot of the summer practicing and improving their play. Cut ahead to the collegiate side bracket at Riptide 2023. They came back swinging and gave Purdue's Boilermaker Redux a run for their money there in the grand finals match. While they did lose, they took it to a game 5 and shocked the entire collegiate scene with their progress since last season. Their entire Season 4 storyline has kind of been built around that moment in the collective collegiate intrigue about Coastal Squid Surf now. The key question on most people's mind could they go the distance and show their dominance throughout the entire season, or was this Riptide performance just a fluke? Well, long story short, the fact that we're talking to them today should probably give you some good indication of what actually happens. But let's not jump ahead of ourselves too fast. Coastal Squid Surf was placed in Division 2, specifically in Group 4, and they completely dominated their group, only dropping 2 games the entire regular season. They were easily the first playoff seed from their group. After a very successful bracket run, they played against Cardiac Soda Fries in the Division 2 Grand Finals match, who were easily their most difficult opponent of the season. And after a very hard-fought match from both sides, Coastal Squid Surf was able to emerge victorious in Game 8, was crowned the CCA Season 4 Division 2 champions. So welcome Coastal Squid Surf to the stage, and we're so excited to have you here and to give you a fantastic interview.
It's an honor to be here as well.
So, with any introduction I do, I'm always bound to miss or misrepresentate something. So, what did I miss? Could you please introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about Coastal Squid Surf?
Okay, so I'm Shy. The guy below me, I think, is Peachy. Coastal Squid Surf, or previously known as Coastal Squid Surge, is a newer team at Coastal Carolina, and it consists of currently 2 sophomores and 2 freshmen.
Shoot.
So we are fairly new. We are fairly fresh to this stuff, but we have been learning really fast, and I'm incredibly proud of the team past months. Will, do you have anything? Peachy, do you have anything to say on that? I'm gonna mess that up a couple times because I'm so used to calling my teammates by their names.
You're fine. I mean, it really just started as like a group of friends, just like we went to there's like this esports interest meeting, and it was just like I think one kid was like, so Splatoon, and like all of us look over at the one dude. We're just like, sure, and we made like a group chat. And it really just went from there. We never thought we were gonna do like amazing. I mean, we like placed kind of mid in like these turf war tournaments, and we played like low ink and LSL and got like absolute garbage results. And like it really took off during CCA. And like after that big loss to Bradley, I know for me, I was like, nah, man, this ain't happening. And like over the summer, really hit like the grinding. Really grinded like SOS, low ink, and I know a lot of my other teammates did. So we're at the point where all of us, I think, are banned from those tournaments at this point. So it was really just a grind. And like, you know, Riptide was our big kind of debut into like the mainstream of CCA. That was awesome. Like, I really appreciate you guys doing that. I wasn't expecting it. We were just like, yeah, Riptide sounds fun. But then you guys announced it, and we're like, hey, school, can we go, please? Like, it's a college event.
We did most of it, but we did have some support from our esports director, Nick. Shout out to Nick. But yeah, kind of the funny thing is our esports program isn't exactly the biggest fan of us, but like, I'm pretty sure I asked in the Discord server, and then they met at the esports meeting, and then we kind of just made the group chat, and things just started rolling from there. I kind of helped out with like getting us into the scene as fast as possible. I didn't know anything about the comp scene when I first started. I did so much research on like LSL and FTIU and all the big tournaments, and I just started trying to like get us in as many as we could. And I found out about the CCA like right after like registration closed for it was like a week or 2 after we formed, and I was like, it was probably a good thing we didn't do it because we're not ready yet. And then I was like, we need to do some tournaments, get some experience, and then we played in the fall season. So, or no, spring. We put in spring. We were formed in the fall season of last year. So.
Well, okay. Well, you guys answered the first couple of questions that I had in stored. But you know, as Krona did, that you know, Coastal Squid Surf did make their CCA debut last spring in Entrance Exam 1, followed by, you know, Season 3. So, you know, after kind of giving us that story there of how you all formed, and it was right before, you know, Season 2 had, you know, closed or basically right at Season 2's registration deadline. Yeah. So how did you all go about preparing for Season 3? What were the interactions that you would basically have with the collegiate scene? Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember. Like, that was kind of a weird time where the CCA was growing and like people just showed up, and it's like, cool, who are all of you?
Well, DRF, that's basically what we were. we kind of just like applied, and we had no idea what we were getting into. We never contacted like anyone. I just found it on Twitter. I was like, okay, we're gonna go do this, guys. I don't know like anything about this. We're just gonna go do it. And we signed up with Coastal Squid Surge, which I don't remember how we came up with the name. I do remember how we made the logo, which was the thing we efforted us for last season. I think I was playing Turf War, and I got really mad at the game, and I just started like laughing. I was like, I'm gonna make something really dumb, and I went into like a really bad Photoshop editor and just made that. I'm like, we're using this as our team, and they're like, okay, and then that monstrosity was what we were known as last season. So
it is iconic.
it is. I posted a video on Twitter of me launching a rock at it. So if you could see that on Facebook.
Classic. Yeah, I don't know if it's up there with some of the logos of all time. DCA.
I need
Literally
to
like a 5-minute project.
I need to see this logo because I'm in the same boat as DRF. I'm hearing so many stories about it now. I'm like, oh my.
Oh, you don't remember the season 3 logo?
Oh,
It was bad.
Do I want to know?
Like I said, it's up there. It's up there.
I will have to. I'm so curious. I'll have to look at it after this episode. But so Coastal Squid. I guess surge at the time. Back in season 3. Clearly, your preparations paid off because you did fantastic in that season, going 4-1 in groups, and eventually finishing second overall in Division 5. So, so with that being said, could you just give us your review of that season? What went well, what could have gone better, and what lessons did you learn from that?
Great introductory season. I guess both of us met a lot of really great teams during that season. I think some standout ones were the Goomies and some of the UCSD people and like a couple other folks. Like it was a really great season to get introduced to the community. Division 5 was very active with each other community wise. Red Beak was also really fun to hang out with. I had a lot of fun interacting with the teams and like getting connections with the community during that season, and I think that's really what told me like I want to keep doing this. And going into playoffs, we didn't really expect to like do really well in our first season. I remember we were like so stressed at our first, like we did our best effort to stream as many of our matches as possible. And I remember our first stream was like terrifying. And that was against, what team was that? Was that Black? I can't think of their name. The first.
Yeah, that was OU Black.
OU Black. Yeah, but yeah, that was a very like scary. Like starting off was very scary, but as we got to the swing of things as a team, we started doing really well. We had a lot of hiccups during the season, personal issues and stuff like that happened. But despite that, I think it was an overall really good season. Grand finals, Life Code Bradley put up a really good fight. However, I'm also never going to a LAN and coming back at 4 a.m. before grand finals. I'm not. Shout out to the UNCG LAN. That was awesome. And we look forward to going back when you guys hopefully do something like that in the future.
Drive was not fun. I was the one driving most of the time, and I wasn't having it. Olivia was in the front seat with me, and they're just like trying to keep me awake. And I'm just like trying to drive, and it's 5 a.m.
Oh god!
And then I had to drive Coco and Idea off at their dorms, and then I drove to their house, dropped them off, and then I got home to my apartment, and the entire parking lot's full, so I had to park in the other apartments and walk my butt all the way up to the 4th floor to where my thing was at, and I'm just like,
yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah, most of us wanted to like match with like literally no sleep because we were anxious about playing grants, and then we also it was a process, but I will say Life Code Rally definitely did deserve the win there and did put a really good fight. But we learned a lot about how to play together as a team that season, and it kind of built our fundamentals in regards to what we wanted to do as a team. And after we lost, we're like, pretty much our immediate response was, we're just going to get better. So that's what we did summer.
That's like exactly what you did. You did not let that, second place stop you at any bit there in the summer, and you spent a lot of the time practicing and competing in various tournaments throughout that span of time. Could you elaborate on your approach to practicing? Were you more concerned with practicing as individuals or more as a cohesive team unit?
So you like Krona, I know you really well. You probably know the answer to this already, but I'm gonna go over it for everyone else in here. So CSS is very interesting because we already had a really good fundamentals in regards to call outs and playing together as a team and stuff like that. So really when it came down to it, we tried to play in tournaments together a lot as a team, but scheduling and stuff like that kind of just built up. I was at a really busy job at the time. I worked at Build-A-Bear. But it was a lot of like we really tried to, and then eventually we decided like for our team environment and for us as individual players, it would be better for us to grind on our own. So we ended up joining our own teams. We ended up doing pickups. We ended up doing a bunch of stuff together. Like we ended up doing a bunch of stuff on our own, and then came together to get like for the first time at Riptide, and that was you could tell everyone improved a lot over that time period, and our comms only got better, and we had a better connection and stuff like that afterwards. And I honestly like, I it felt like we were a whole different team going into Riptide, and I'm like incredibly proud of the progress we made over the summer.
I know, like right after finals, like I was hanging out with the team, but I'm like, I'm gonna go on my own personal journey and figure out where I'm going wrong. Because I was a range blaster one trig. That's all I like ever played. And like when I joined a team called Virtuous Divine, and it was right after I got Alpha Bracket and Low Ink, I was like, there's something fundamentally wrong with range blaster on at least our college team comp that's not going to be working as we go forward, because we ran a range blaster leader splash and T-Tech comp, and it was fairly slow. It was paint was bad, and it was just fundamentally slow. And then like we played in some random, I think it was Golden Throne with like a pickup over the summer, and we met Magic, and Magic joined the team, and he was like, okay, you're too slow. Cut backline. We're done with that. Play aggressive, forward. Like, they can't keep up with us if we're faster. And we're, like, hesitant at first. We were like, I don't know if we like this. But we started playing it, going into Riptide, and we're just like, actually, that works better than we thought. And then, like, a little down the line, we got from Hockey Nova, and she plays Nautilus. So I guess kind of a backline, but not really. And it really offsets the aggression that we have for more paint and support when we're struggling to keep up with the team with a strong backline presence. So it's really finding our footing in like our individual players, like how are we performing individually, and like what weapons and what are we bringing to the table of like, okay, we know when we should be aggressive individually. We know when we should take the defense, and we know each other better just from playing in the season and taking a break from each other and coming back. We kind of got a better understanding of how we want to play. So it's definitely been a big improvement.
Yeah, Coastal doesn't have a lot of Splatoon players because we are very much a party campus, but like we kind of hit the jackpot with who we got this season. Coastal Booyah Basins is kind of a newer team of people that are trying to learn comp, and they're getting their process down. And we're trying to help out as much as we can over there as well. But in regards to the people that we added to CSS this semester, like I couldn't be any happier with that. Both players are phenomenal. So
yeah, I mean, you guys mentioned Magic. I mean, I've played against Magic like a lot, like way too much outside of CCA. So I wanted to ask you guys, like, I mean, you mentioned a little bit, but I'd like you to, maybe explain a little bit more about like how they kind of like influenced the development of your team, because like I know they're a very strong player, so I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
I'll open this one.
Yeah, you can start.
I have the most experience with Magic. I know at first I was like, he's great on the team, but I don't like his ideas. We had very conflicting views of like, I've been in this team for a while. I did this with the team, and you're new, and you're telling us to do something completely different. So we butted heads. I'm not gonna lie, I got to a bit of arguments with him. Nice guy, but it was just our like fundamental view of the game. And like I was like, you know what? Benefit of the doubt, I'll trust his stuff. He's a better player than me. Because at the time, Ludi hadn't happened yet. He's coming from a stronger team than I've ever been on. So I was like, all right, and it started working. And I'm like, maybe I'm the one in the wrong. Maybe my view, I'm not a high level player. He's definitely, I would say high level at this point. I mean, he's played for Octopi, which was a Div 1 team. So I'm like, okay. And just started working. Like, he has, like, I wouldn't say carried our comms, but he keeps us on track. Like, if he sees us starting to feed, he's like, why are we feeding? Like, we need to play it safe. Or why are we not winning this paint battle? We have 2 splatter shots in a T-Tech. Like, why are we not winning this? Focus on paint. And it'll really keep us on track in a game on, like, what we're doing. Because sometimes it is easy to get into the, like, I'm going to take these fights over and over again rather than focusing on paint and objective and finding those numbers after the fact. But he's been a great asset to the team. I don't know if we'd be here if it wasn't for him as well. Definitely a blessing.
I think a big part of our team as well is communication with a lot of things. We did have a lot of conflicts starting out because we didn't really know how to communicate our conflicts with each other. And as we got to know each other better and, work better as a team, we started communicating those issues a lot better. And we started communicating our different standpoints on the game a lot better and having a better, more vocal output on comms and on comps and all that stuff. And I think that our team has gotten a lot better at analyzing our gameplay and as playing as a team because of that conflict, which honestly, stuff like that happens. And it's important that you just try your best to, talk openly with your team.
So go ahead and, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong in this. So as I start to kind of pivot towards Riptide conversation here, was Riptide Magic's official debut with CSS?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, all right, that's what I figured, because I remember we all kind of went into Riptide and we basically said, all right, this Boilermaker Redux team is number 1, Ohio State is number 2, and then Coastal Squid Surf was the number 3 seed. Like, that was the general consensus going into it. So, so Coastal Carolina University, for folks that aren't aware, was one of 4 universities and one of 5 teams to be part of the collegiate side bracket at Riptide 2023 in Sandusky, Ohio. So you all came into that, first of all, pulled off an upset that was off stream, where at least what we thought was an upset at the time, over Ohio State winning 3-1, and then fought in one of the most exciting matches in collegiate Splatoon this year, when you all went head-to-head with Boilermaker Redux and went up 2-0 before ultimately falling short in that finals set. Can you kind of just tell us, what was your thoughts going into this bracket, especially with the new addition of Magic and playing at the first, I guess, CCA LAN event? I guess not your first LAN because you went to the North Carolina one.
I mean, Rift has a different monster though in that regard. Like, that it was amazing to play on stage several times. It was amazing to just showcase our strengths as a team at that event and just have fun and hang out with a lot of Coastal teams. Shout out to Coastal's Applebee's night, the CCA Applebee's night on the first night that we were there. But generally when we went to the CCA side event, that was the main reason we were there. So we're like, okay, we're gonna put on a show. Like, we're here for this. We're gonna put on a show. Win or lose. Like, we're just gonna go into this with as much strength as we can. And when we got the first win off Ohio State, we were very okay, we're doing really well. Like, I don't think people expected that, because I remember people came over to report the game and were like, oh, we won 3-1. They're like, what? Like it was kind of crazy. But going into the Boilermaker game, I'm so used to calling them Boilermaker at this point from Div 2. But Boilermaker was a very stacked roster. It was a little bit intimidating, but we did get a upset off on another team during the regular Riptide groups called 3 Rats and a Laser. They're a LAN pickup, yeah. And we reverse swept them on stage. I'm like, if we can do that, we can do anything. We just gotta focus up on that. And kind of what we went into that set was we were doing really well for the large portion of it. And as we got into the last half of the set, I think it was a lot of pressure, honestly, that kind of caused our downfall. Purdue's audience was massive. They had so many people there supporting them. And as I've said, Coastal's very small. So having any level of support, it's kind of wild to us. And after watching like the CCA like looking at the Discord and stuff like that and seeing the Twitch chat and stuff after the event, I'm like, oh, there's people that are actually rooting for us now. Like we gotta put on a show next season. It was very motivating after kind of feeling a little bit demoralized after that loss, seeing like what happened. But honestly, Purdue put on a great show. It's not like it wasn't like they did such a really good job at coming back there despite all the pressure on them for that as well. So
it was stressful. There's a lot of people watching that set. But like even after the loss, like there was one game, it was a Hagglefish on Clams. We lost to Kraken Cheese pretty hard, and we're like, okay, so Div 5, we lost to a roller. We lost to a roller here again. We're struggling in this aspect. We're able to keep up, but we're still slipping. We're not doing like the necessary precautions against this type of play style. And we're just like, all right, well, second place is pretty good. Like we got medals. It was pretty hype for us. We're like, we actually got something back. I know a lot of our parents were like, oh, well, you're actually like doing something. That's crazy. And just we're just like, okay. If we're not Div 1, we're definitely Div 2. I don't think there's a debate about that. And if we get Div 2, we just win, right? Like we need to prove that, like, if we want to get to Div 1 and be the top of college Splatoon, we need to at least win this division. And like, I know a lot of our team was scared. I'm like, let's not be scared. I think being scared is the bad thing. Like, we don't underestimate our opponents, but we need to like, confidence is the key, in my opinion, to winning a set or a whole league. It's just like keeping mental game. Because that was our biggest thing last season. I know me personally went through a hard patch towards the end of Div 5. And my mental was like really bad, like really, really bad. And like I unfortunately probably was the one who lost us the set the most. And I'm like, okay, we'll learn from the mistakes and we'll try to keep our mental game up. And like there were times throughout like this season and even at Riptide that was like one of our players was kind of like, man, I'm not doing enough. I'm not strong enough. Like sub me out. I'm not worth it. And we're just like, hush.
I'm not gonna say that is. I'm not gonna say that is for personal reasons. But if you know him, you know that is a load of.
He's absolutely goated, Mr. Squeezer and E-Leader player and shot. But he's really good and he doubts himself. We're just like, dude, you did really well last season. You watched the grand finals set and people were like, holy, this man's movement was insane. And it's just like, you're good. Like, you don't have to go for picks to be good at the game. Like, you're painting, you're putting that bomb pressure out, quit doubting yourself. And I had to like shake him physically, like, dude, snap out of it. And like, come 5 minutes later, he's like, all right, bet. And we reverse sweep on stage at Riptide against 3 Routes and a Laser. We're like, see, quit doubting yourself, dude. Like, it's getting redundant. Like, you've seen this progress. But I mean, that's the thing about our team, at least, is that if one of us starts like tripping, the other people will kind of get them out of it and really like support them and just be like, you can talk to us. We're not going to be mad. Like, we're not going to force you to play the game with us. If you want to leave the team, that's fine. We don't want you to like force to be here, but like make a smart decision on your own time and we'll accept it, right? Like, friend group first, team second. It's always how it's been for us. And that seems to work the best because like, it's a want, not a requirement to play for us, which is, I think, the biggest strength.
That's a very good mental to have. And I also just love my Sendoku bestie there. But moving on from the whole summer Riptide side bracket and such, let's move our discussions more into Season 4. So Coastal Squid Surf was placed into Division 2 Group 4, and you absolutely dominated this group, going 5-1 and only dropping 2 games the entire regular season. You then played against Vermilion Tides and IBC Diamond Rays, 2 very notable collegiate teams where you only dropped a single game to get to grand finals. So kind of having these 2 different perspectives from the season, that being regular season and your kind of playoff matches, can you talk about the differences in Coastal Squid Surf's perspectives and approaches to these matches in these kind of 2 distinct periods of the season?
Was there really any difference? I'm not really sure if I noticed anything specific with our team. We kind of went into every game with the we're just gonna win this type of mentality, which, you know, you don't want to be overconfident with a lot of stuff, but Like, you want to respect your opponent's strengths and your opponent because you don't know how strong they are on their own. But we kind of just went into it with the we're just gonna win, like we're just better type of mentality, which is, it's something that we kind of struggled with for a long time, but we've gotten a lot better with. And I have massive respect for all the people in our group and in our playoffs matches. Vermilion and IVC and We Aquatic Little Creatures, and I could name so many teams actually. I was like, okay, like I really want to put on a showing for these guys. Also Nightfall, also I'm gonna go off on a tangent.
Those are part of the 8 teams who played this season.
Yeah, but like it was. We kind of went into every single game with the same mentality of just we're gonna win, we're just gonna prove we're better. I don't think we changed our comp at all this entire season. We ran the same thing the entire time. At one point I was like, Magic, like, should we like change our comp at some point? Because people are gonna know like what we're running. They can look at like literally the CCA stats and they're always like, no, just run it. Just run it. That just proves that like if you run the same thing and they know you're gonna run it and they know they can't do anything about it, it's just gonna make things worse. And that was like something that like really like kind of was something I tried to like keep in mind with a lot of our games was like we just need to play at our strength, it will be perfectly fine. And that was like that mental throughout the entire semis and groups matches made things a lot easier. Peachy, what's your perspective on it?
I mean, the team going into the season was pretty split on like views. Like me and Shai are very analytical and the other team members are just like, we ball, let's just do it. I would always do extensive research on our opponents, like, all right, we take out this person, and they're done. Like, they can't keep up. We take down these 2 people. With, like, We Aquatic Little Creatures, I was like, okay, their pencil's kind of cracked. And that was definitely the reason why we lost. That pencil was really oppressive, but we overcame it. Going into, like, playoffs, I was like, well, we've beaten, because when we played on Static Stop, with me, Olivia, what was it? Novaden and Abby and Skaboop from Chai's team.
Yeah, Skaboop from his app. Yeah.
We won against them, or at least most of those members, because they're all on like the same team. And we're like, all right, we can beat these guys again, no problem. And then IVC, I mean, they're a pretty popular team. I've done my research on them quite a bit, especially after facing Devil Rays last season. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can win this. And then like we go into finals against Kanye, and I'm like, yeah, that splash is good. And Magic's like, yeah, that splash is good. It shouldn't be a problem though. We can beat him. Vastly underestimated that splash's oppressiveness.
Yeah.
Cookie is
like
an insane player.
We saw his KD, and we're like, there's no way. Like maybe people just didn't do a good job at countering him. No, their splash is that good.
Yeah,
like
we would never take numbers on him. It was always a trade.
Yeah, we'll give like Cookie / like the biggest like highlight from just being a menace that set. Another thing I'd like to point out is I like obviously the IBC set wasn't streamed, but IBC also put on a really good showing. So did Vermilion as well. But like I wanted to point out IBC specifically because IBC's like matches were incredibly close. I think the only game that wasn't close was Humpback Tower Control, which was probably the funniest game of our entire season. Because we were stuck on 1 for almost 2 minutes. So, but it was definitely a very interesting playoffs and groups run, and I want to shout out all the teams that we fought. You guys did really well, and we had a really great time fighting y'all.
Scared to see where they're going from here. Like especially Kanye, IVC, and Vermilion Tides. Like, yeah, I'm a little scared to see what they're gonna do in the future. They have a lot of strong people. And there's a whole, 3-4 months before the next season really gets going. So that's a lot of time to get better.
We improved that fast in 3 months. I'm sure other teams can improve that fast in 3 months. Like, just as long as you have the drive to push, you can aim high. And that's something that we've always kind of kept in mind with our team as well, is just keep at it if you really want to, like, improve as a player. Whether that be on your own or in a team setting. Honestly, it depends on how your team, the team environment that you have on your own, and deciding that for yourselves as a group. And that's kind of what happened with us and all that.
No, that is definitely something I feel like we've been trying to highlight here on these last few episodes of the podcast is that, the teams that make the most progress and that come out for the next seasons are the teams that put in the work in this time between seasons. Here Coastal Squid Surf, who grinded this summer, is had this dominant run here in their group, and the first bid of the playoff bracket. So DRF, I believe you wanted to dive into the grand finals match, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we started touching on it there a bit, but let's dive into it more. So, Div 2 Grand Finals against Carne Soda Fries from San Diego State University. Both of you were runner-ups in your respective divisions last season. And coming into this, I don't think there was a really higher stakes matchup between two teams that wanted it so bad to complete the redemption arc. So walk us through a little bit leading up to that match. Was your preparation any different than any other matchup so far in that season?
Okay, so I have very bad news. You guys are not gonna like when I say this. We did not practice at all this season. We did not practice all this season. We did not.
Dang, okay.
Practice. We kind of went into the match with the same mentality of we're just gonna play our best, and it worked out. We definitely should have practiced, but it was so. And I hope that when we go into next season, we're gonna actually practice more. But we kind of always were like, did we just have enough faith in each other that we're like, we'll do fine. And I think, hey, don't get me wrong, the day that Grands came up, I was so anxious. I was like, and I could tell that was happening in my gameplay, which is why I swapped out with A, halfway through the set. But they put out a lot of pressure, and it was definitely a very back-to-back match. But we kept our cool throughout all of it, and that's something I will always be really we definitely played very scuffed that night. I don't think we played at our best, but obviously we still won. So that's that's very important. But for analysis purposes and stuff like that, we're okay, we're definitely gonna try to work on stuff in the future in regards to this. Same thing happened with IPC. I don't is it great to 5-0 or 5-1 a team and stuff like that? Sure. But if you feel your gameplay isn't the best, it's yeah, you did that, that's cool, but you better, in some ways. And obviously we don't like to put that pressure on ourselves all that much, but having that in mind for future games has always been something that's very important to us. So
PG. The lack of scrims was something that we gotta change next season. We were all busy on our own teams. We were all playing in Ludi. Half of us were in Div 7, half of us were in Div 5, and we're just okay, I mean, we're already playing a lot this season on outside tournaments and Ludi, and then we have CCA on the side here, together as a group. So we're just I mean, we're already playing enough. That's enough practice as is. But I mean, that can't be the case next season, especially if we're gonna be shooting for Div 1. Is we need to practice as a team more. Yeah, our individual skill is okay on our own with our other respective teams. But the team practice needs to really pick up because we want to improve our strategies even more from Div 2. Because if we keep these Div 2 strategies in mind without changing it, we're going to get completely washed in the future. And it's just okay, how can we adjust to either the new meta or these new teams that are absolute monsters? For you, Snow, I don't want to fight your team right now. Y'all are monsters. Scary. So we'll see.
Well, okay, so you guys didn't practice that much for finals, but so then I'm curious, I mean, how you're, I guess, preparing once you're in the game itself, because you guys are going to Div 1 or not Div 1, Game 1, and I remember watching that match, or the first game. I'm oh man, I hope Karna and Exotic can even put up a fight. 'Cause I feel you guys pushed down 12 or 2 or something really low in your first push. And then you guys just got locked out and ended up losing the game. So it's how? So now I want you guys to tell us how do you recover from a pretty brutal first loss like that, and how in general do you manage your mental when you're playing the most important match of the season against a team who is not intimidated by you at all?
That's a good question. That first game, Mako Zones, was it felt like we kind of knew immediately what we did wrong there. We played really forward and really aggressive when we shouldn't have at certain points, and our initiation of certain pushes and special usages weren't the best, and that was what caused a big portion of the lockout. And the thing that we've always been on top of is we're used to losing round one, like first game, and we have always been like, warm up round, we're fine, just keep going, and it's like, it's never been something that's bothered us that much compared to some other teams, but like, it's definitely something we were a little bit like, okay, we need to really be on top of like how we're doing stuff, because that was a little bit, scuffed for our usual like way that we play.
It was we go from playing open and like stomping teams. Like we come across my team Gravity and Open that night, beat them, and we're like, oh well, I mean, all right, okay, I think we got this. And we come across Carnier, and they're not an open team, so we had that open confidence going into it. And we're like, whoa, we're at 12 points. We play it safe, and we had a really good like retake a zone, and then the stuff started falling apart. Comms got a little bit broken, a little too aggressive, popping specials like one at a time rather than like together as a team. And we're just like one loss, it's not really over yet. Like it doesn't decide anything. And we picked it up for I think the next 2 games, and we won. And then like I think the hardest loss for us was probably that zones game on what was that, Ship Shape Cargo. That one was brutal because we had a really nice recap at the very end, putting a big penalty on Carnier. They wipe us out because I started a push on the ball point and 3 of us fed. I was like, well, we can take them out. It's one person. No, that's a ball point, fully revved up. Shouldn't have done that. And we go back in for the final retake. Azuka gets popped, shoots me and Magic right out the game, dead instantly. And the other 2 can't really do anything. And we're just like, that would have made it match point then and there. So that one was a little bit tough. So I'm like, wait a minute. This is like last season where we lose 1, win 2, then lose 2, and it's even again. And we just lose from here, right? Like that's how what happened last season. History is repeating itself. Chai swaps out. We get in because Nautilus on Rainmaker is kind of busted. And like the moment that game started, I felt a new surge of confidence. I mean, there was a clip on Twitter. We pop Rainmaker and 3 of Carnier go down instantly because they were too close to that bubble. I was like, oh, go left. Let's start. Go. I need bodies in front of me. And then Coco goes to the right, takes the last one out, and the other 2 are just already on the call, and I'm running it. And that game was pretty back and forth, but I mean, that really started the confidence again. Because I was like, wait a minute, my confidence is getting weaker again. I'm not playing well. But I mean, we were able to clutch it up that game, and that's what really led to the final game being as much of a. That was an intense match going into the Clan Blitz one. But I know Olivia was like, yeah, let's swap me out for the Nautilus, because the Nautilus is just stronger on those 2 maps than a T-Tech was, especially with that range with Strawberry swapping to the V Dynamo, with their cooler output and having their ballpoint on such a strong map was just not going to be feasible with a T-Tech, and that was the right call. So,
I'm in T-Tech jail permanently. I love the weapon, but I'm stuck there. Please help me.
Snow, I think you got the. Yeah, I think Snow, your question.
Yeah. So I think it actually is fairly often among CCA teams, but you guys brought out some new weapons. Or the patch dropped on Friday. You guys brought out some new weapons for the grand final. Mainly the inclusion of the foil squeezer, and it's special. So I mean, were you guys always planning to use that, or was that just like I think this thing works, and we're gonna see how it goes decision?
So while I did say that we don't practice, or we didn't practice at all this season, we technically did do a friendly scrim with WPI when the new season pass dropped, and also Magic did point out that we did play SOS together like right before Grands, and we've got like Hammerhead on that, which was really cool. But well, we basically went into that scrim just to mess around with like new weapons and stuff like that. We tried out Custom Blaster, didn't really like it that much, and then we tried out Foil Squeezer. And Foil Squeezer obviously is very controversial right now. But when we first started playing it, the biggest things we liked about it was the wall itself blocks vision on. Obviously, it blocks vision on your side, but also blocks vision on the other team's side. And if you know when you're activating it and have a good understanding of what's going on the opposite side of the field, you can do some really good. Coverage on that. And the biggest thing that we noticed with that was it was very hard to tell where specials were coming from off the opposite side of the squeezer. So we'd often like pop Zuka and pop squeezer together and pop the wall together, and you just see Zuka shots run out of the other side and just kill people. And it's like, this is kind of fun. But like, obviously, I'm like me and Peachy have very different opinions on regards to like foil squeezer and its usage in comp. As the discussion got further along, a week or so after our match, I don't like the aspects of squeezer that cause a lot of eye strain and issues in regards to various issues with that. But not getting into all that, but like there's a lot of aspects of wall, even from without all that extra stuff, are incredibly helpful for like coordinating a push forward. I think a really great example of squeezer being used in one of our sets was the Humpback Rainmaker game, where Coco pops it, grabs Rainmaker, and just started running through the wall. No one was able to find him, and I started painting for him. We got him up the pedestal. But like, I think, but foil squeezer we first tried it out with WPI, and then we're like, we really like this weapon. We're gonna try playing it in finals and see what happens, because no team had a lot of experience with the new stuff. So we're like, if we can make this work, we can definitely make it work, because there's not a lot of people with that experience. But yeah, Peachy, what's your stance on it?
I mean, Coco was just complaining. She's like, I don't want to play shot. Shot's boring. It's meta. Zuka this, Zuka that. Like, why do I have to play? I'm like, fine. I wanted to play Blaster in finals. Like, I wanted to show off a bit. But you know what? I'll take the paint bot. I'll take the Zuka jail. Play your squeezer. And like, I'm a very firm believer of like, Nintendo probably will not fix this special today. But I think it's great. Like, it's super slow, so you're not mostly going to get hit by it, but the mind games that it puts out, like, you can't see through it, and you don't want to get hit by it, so they're going to back up, so it's borderline free space, and only the people who are absolutely mentally insane are going to run through that screen at you, and even then, like, if they go into the ink, there's little bubbles, and you see them, I'm like, it's great, it's like a toxicness, but better. So I'm like, all right, throw it in front, and we all capitalized on it, and it was beautiful. And it only started like getting really bad, and we had to swap off of it when the paint game was getting too weak, when just me and Chai couldn't keep up the team's paint. But I mean, foil squeezer is one of those weapons that I'm like, hopefully they fix screen so we can use it some more. I don't know the CCA stance on it going forward, but like, assuming Nintendo fixes it, love to see it some more. Like, I know I'm learning foil myself, so we could have like one of us swap on and off depending on what we want and how we want to play the game. But I mean, gosh, I love screen. I just think screen is one of those specials that's like less impactful on the game, like getting kills, but I mean, it's just mind games to me, and it's really wonderful to like have that free reign on a battlefield. Like when WPI, we were just laughing, like, throw screen, because we knew that they couldn't see us at all behind that screen, and they weren't going to push through it because it's bright and it's loud. And it just lets you get away with a lot of stuff. And I know, like, a lot of teams were like, oh, let's not run the new weapons or kits because, like, it is brand new, like, a day before finals. But we're just like, it's new content. And it throws teams by surprise a little bit. So there's a bit of that surprise factor going into finals of, like, I don't know how to counter the special yet. And we know how to play off of it already. So it's like, why not? Like, we may not be very popular for doing that by any means, but I mean, it worked for our team, and it definitely took games off, which is what really matters at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man! All right. Well, so we only have a couple, as we've been here for quite some time already. But thank you both for answers. So I guess, what was your pivotal moment in that match where Coastal Squid Surf turned the tide and moved the momentum in your favor?
What game was that I'd say was like the really...
I would say it's that Rainmaker on Under 2 when we won. I was like, hold on, hey, like, Nautilus push up a little bit. And I grab Rainmaker and I run it backwards like a loser. And I'm like, they're not going to get to us. Like, you guys make a wall and they're not going to touch us. I'm like, okay, match point. And like that Clan Blitz game was like, I knew we were going to win. Like we took that first push really well. And then I just saw us like really work together as a team to the second push down to like, I think it was like 17 points. And I'm like, we've got this. Like they're not coming back. We play like not necessarily defense, but we are like not trying to attack them as hard as we were. And I really felt that team coordination kind of mesh. Like we haven't felt this season. Like, yeah, we've been working pretty well, but like that was the moment I'm just like, okay. And then my hopes started to die just a little bit at the very, very end. It was overtime. Carne puts in a ball. We kill half of them. They put in another ball, and I'm like, oh gosh, like a ball and a couple points, and they're going to take it to a game 9. And I don't want to play Manta Zones because Riptide, we lost at Manta Zones the very last bit. I'm like, we have to clutch it up.
Carne was scary on zones too. That was another thing.
Yeah, I don't want that Dynamo on zones. That's a bit of a mess, especially on Manta. The Dynamo get up top and just flick downwards. But like me and Coco were, I think, the last 2 alive, and it's just 2 shots versus I think it was a brush and a ballpoint. A little bit scary. One of them outranges us, and one of them is faster than we are. And the bomb pressure, I was like, just spam bombs. Gizuka, please, I'm begging you. And we clutched it up at the very end, and then I started like screaming in the microphone because like even on Gravity, I was second place curse, never won something major. I was like, oh my god, like. Yeah, it's Div 2. Like, we kind of expected to win it, but, like, the fact that we actually went out, we said we were going to win it is different from, like, actually going out and doing it. I don't know. And then I was like, okay, I can be done with this game for, like, a couple months. Like, just go leave the country for a bit. Take time to myself and not really play the game all too much and just be done. Like, just big weight off my shoulders lifted once we clutched that one up.
Yeah, anything to add there, Chai, for your perspective?
Yeah, as I said, I swapped out for the last half of the set, so because that was the best play for our team and for like what we needed on the field there. A's Nautilus on that game was really good. I think one of my favorite highlights from that game is not only Coco's crab cancel, but also A's immediate spawn cancel of Zipcaster, which was really cool. Because Zip is a really hard special to shoot down, especially on a Nautilus. So seeing them, like, absolutely shred a Zipcaster immediately off of spawn is like, okay. like, wow.
Well, now that you all have finally finished atop the Division 2 mountain, first of all, how does that feel? Like, after everything that you all have been through to claim that division title?
Great. like, it was really, again, our team has been second place at UNCG, at Riptide, in Div 5, in several tournaments. We're like, it needs to happen, and it finally happened. I think it's going to make things a lot better for us going forward in regards to just being like, play our best, we got it, you know? And that's how we went into this season, and we're going to do it again next season, hopefully.
Well, Krona, I mean, bring us home. We got one more question for them.
Yes. So, now there really isn't anywhere to go but up at this point for Coastal Squid Surf. So with that in mind, I want to ask, what Division 1 teams do you have on your radar at this point? What teams do you want to see yourself play against next season and have some very competitive matches with? And kind of following on that, do you think you can see a Division 1 title from Coastal Squid Surf next season?
Maybe. I think it's going to be really tough. Some of the teams there are crazy stacked. PSU, MSU Aries. Some teams I look forward to potentially fighting would be UCF Night Sharks. And I know a lot of our teammates like IVC Ink Black a lot, so... Peachy, what are you thinking?
It's going to be much harder. I don't know if a win is remotely guaranteed. Like, this season, we're really confident. Next season, a little more hesitant. There's some absolute menaces. I mean, I'm playing with people who are... It's basically triggerfish zones. And I'm just like, well, okay. And then Ink Black's a good team. And then, like, PSU... Well, not PSU, but MSU and Banana Splits and Red Embers. And I'm just like, yeah, it's a different world than Div 2 and below. Like, that's just the beginning. Div 1's where it really gets, like, a nightmare to play. But I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we make it. I would assume we can pull off something, maybe a couple upsets, maybe playoffs, maybe. That's a long shot at this point. A lot of growing to do before next season, but I mean,
we have a lot of work to do if we're gonna make a really good showing at Div 1. Div 1 is something we've always wanted since we first started in Division 5, and we've wanted to prove ourselves that we deserve to be there, and we're gonna, if it happens next season, we're gonna put our all into trying to make sure that with that, you know, hey, we deserve to be here, we deserve to be up at the top, you know?
I mean, I feel like this entire season has been justifying your potential Div 1 spot for the coming season. You know, now it's your time to shine, to, you know, make strides and to push yourself there, you know, into, you know, a hypothetical season 5, not that, you know, we've actually confirmed anything or not yet. But, you know, thank you so much for those insightful answers to all these great questions. It's been fantastic to see your progress here within the last basically year at this point, from your growth here and your start in the CCA from season 3 to Riptide to now your Division 2 Champions title in season 4. So I think Coastal Carolina University is one of those notable collegiate programs in the Southeast now, and it's going to be very exciting to see what comes for y'all in the future events. So thank you for being entertaining to watch. Wrapping this interview up, where can we find you two? Anything you would, and is there anything you would like to plug?
Okay, so you can find me and Peachy at shy_splat and peachypuff_SPL. Our team Twitter is for some reason like soft blocked, I think, on Twitter. We don't know why. It's been like that since we first made it. You can find that by directly putting in at CSS in all caps _SPL. I don't know why it's like that. All we do is post results on there, but I guess we're blocked for some reason. So make sure to put that in specifically if you want to find them. And I think we are following and have everyone tagged on the pin post on there, so you can all follow all of our members on there as well.
Sweet. Well, if that's it, thank you both so much for joining us today. Congratulations once again. It has been so much fun watching you all. So, Peachy, continue to have fun on your travels. Send me your itinerary. And Chai, you know, I'm assuming you might be moving around for the holiday season as well. So
yeah, but I'm going to practice a little bit over the break. So
all right. Well, thank you both so much. So enjoy the break. Very well deserved. And we will be happy to chat with y'all again in the future.
Thank
you guys.
Glad to be here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Well, that was fantastic. I mean, we had this listed down as a 30 to 40 minute segment. And we talked to Coastal Squid Surf for like an hour. So, you know, I think we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Like, this is how big this podcast episode is. It is so big that we're going to take a quick break to run that video of all the division winners, and so that we can go grab water, chargers, whatever we need. So stick with us. We'll be back in a little bit, I think. Krona, anything for us to kind of expect coming up here?
Yeah, I just want to say that, you know, obviously with how we run the podcast, we really only can have one interview segment to talk with the actual captains and players that play and such. But all these 6 division winners have such unique stories that we wanted to craft an experience for y'all to listen in and to watch and to hear them talk about it. Hence, we got most of them to submit a short little video here, which we're going to run momentarily here. So, you know, enjoy the quick intermission, and we'll be right back in like 5-6 minutes to continue to part 2 of this episode. Take it away.
Hey, it's HT, captain of UGA Red, coming out to you live from my closet. This season was a lot of fun, and the win means a lot to us as like a newly formed team. It showed both us and kind of like our wider esports environment that, hey, we can cook. For the future, we hope to change things up, have some more fun, and maybe win again. We'll see what it has in store for us.
Hello, CCA, and Merry Squidmas. My name is Jack, and I am the team captain of the Seminole Cephalopods Garnet, consisting of myself and my wonderful teammates Alyssa, Charlie, Christian, and Alex, whose amazing performance just won us the Division 4 title. I am really proud of this team, especially considering that we definitely had a bit of an underdog story this season. We had a disappointing performance in the CCA entrance exam back before the Seminole Cephalopods Garnet even existed. We were just a big amalgamation of a team back then. And we decided to make this brand new experimental lineup of the Seminole Cephalopods Garnet, consisting of Alex and Christian, who were existing veteran members, and Charlie and Alyssa, who had never even been on the team before. But new and old players alike all showed their commitment and dedication to FSU this semester and gave us a performance that our team had never even seen before. And it was especially impressive because I, as the leader, was able to contribute to our first few victories of the season, but ended up growing very busy throughout the semester with my personal life. And so my teammates, they really stepped up to the plate. They were super proactive in coordinating practice, and they made my job as a leader very easy. And I really could not be more proud and happy to have them. Expect more big things from us as we move into chill season 2024, as I move into a less busy time in my life, and as we start to experiment with new strategies and non-collegiate events. Thank you, everyone, and have a happy holiday.
Hello, Krona here from the WPI Grisco Workers Union. I think it's a very odd feeling to have won the same division twice. I think what immediately comes to mind is this idea of going backwards or plateauing, and I very much heavily disagree with that sentiment. I think one point that always gets kind of unrepresented in discussions about our team is the fact that we're a very new roster. At the beginning of the season, I was the only returning member from our Season 2 roster, with Miss L joining us for Season 3, and this being Mario, Mortis, and Phantom's first CCA season. I think this win speaks volumes to the amount of dedication our newer players have put into their crafts and play the game, and it really excites me to see what the future for our team could hold. We don't plan on stopping here, of course. We want to push it further in Season 5 and bring representation to our school in the collegiate scene. So I just want to give a quick shout out to those players and a quick thanks to all of our friends, our scrim partners who have supported us throughout the season. You all are amazing, and we definitely could not have done this without you. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing everyone in the spring.
My name is Shai. I'm the captain of Coastal Squid Surf, and today I have my team with me, who sadly could not be here. Rest in peace. Today we'll be answering some questions that the league gave us. So what has been your biggest struggle within Season 4, and how have you overcome it? It's always really tough to continue to keep a momentum up in your games, even when you're winning, in order to say, when those losses happen, and say, hey, we lost here, but we're just going to win the next one. But that's something that our team has always been really good on the surface, but I definitely want to see us continue to improve on that in the future. What does this champion title mean to you and your team? If you're familiar with CSS and its history, you guys would know that they have a history of getting second place in a lot of events, and getting the championship win now with Season 4 has been absolutely important to our team, and we're going to hope to continue that momentum into the future. And with that in mind, what comes next for your team and university program? We hope to continue building the Splatoon series at Coastal Carolina, and we're hoping that Coastal Squid Surf will get their Division 1 run next season, and that we will continue to do amazing in that as well. Thank you, guys!
Me and Jay, two members from the winning PSU Blue of Div 1. Jay, we have some questions. What has been your biggest struggle this season? How did you overcome it?
Too many weapons.
Too many weapons. We have an internal stat sheet. We had to fill it out. We had to make it over capacity. What does this title mean to you?
I'm very happy.
I'm not. Just kidding, I am. I'm very happy. What comes next for your team in that program?
Win again.
We're gonna win again. Div 2 this time.
True. True. Have fun, boys.